Anthony William, the medical medium. So good to connect with you guys right now. It's been a while. You know, I've been thinking because I talked with somebody pretty recently and they were telling me about when their graduation happened. And then they were telling me about how it was a special time in their life. And then they were telling me how they took a trip and that was a big deal in their life too. And they were like, you wouldn't believe this trip I took 8 years ago. I'll never forget what happened. And they were telling me about their graduation from a school they went to. And they're like, you know, this graduation was amazing. Everybody was there. They were all grateful. Everybody worked so hard. And then he's telling me about something else too. He was saying, look, my daughter got married last year and it was in July and it was such a special time. And he was telling me all these things. And it reminded me of how everybody tends to just talk about those kinds of things. Like those are the landmarks, right? Those are these special moments in our life. And all I can think about is how come we're not allowed to talk about when we first got sick? That's something right there, like everybody remembers who is sick or struggled or was sick. They remember when they first got sick. And and that's something that becomes like this dirty secret. We're not allowed to talk about that. We're not allowed to be public about that. Yeah, you can tell your doctor. You can say to your doctor, hey, doc, yeah, I got sick. It was 2 years ago. I'll never forget. I was walking to the bathroom and I just fell to the floor. I felt weak and my legs felt like they were lead and I wasn't right since then. Everybody remembers that and they'll tell their doctor, and even their doctors don't really want to hear anymore. They're just like, okay, what's your status today? Let's check your medications. How are you feeling today? Oh, good, good. Okay, what? Good, good. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I got my next patient coming up. And they don't want to hear the story again. They don't want to hear, oh, yeah, no, okay, it was 2 years ago. Now it was 2 years ago and 2 months ago. Now it was 2 years and 2.5 years ago. You're at another doctor's visit. And you can tell your doctor when you first got sick, right? But no one else really wants to hear it. If you're in the grocery store and you start talking to somebody, I don't think they really want to hear it unless they've been sick. Unless they have that sick time that they never forget, that landmark time in their life. And then they might tell you, if they've been sick, they might say, you know what, I got sick 5 years ago. And then that's when it has this meaning like, wait a minute, I found somebody else that understands this. But if they're not sick or never been really sick, really struggled with chronic illness, if they haven't been there, it's like they're more like, I remember when I first got my first car, best car I ever had. I named the car and everything. I remember when I took a boat ride for the first time in my life. And and these things are special for people, absolutely. Special when you get a car or you go on a boat ride or you take a trip or you have, an incredible time, or someone gets married or a best friend gets married and you're at the wedding. Hey, I was remember when I was a best man. And, or I remember when I walked my daughter down the aisle. And these are the things remember, but we got to hide the dirty secret, right? We got to hide I got sick 8.5 years ago. I'll never forget it. It was September, and I can even give you the day, September, 20th. And that's when it was all falling apart for me, and I couldn't find answers, and I couldn't get anywhere with it. And I went to the hospital, and I went to the emergency room over and over again. And but we're not allowed to really talk about that. People don't want to hear about it. Even doctors don't want to hear it over and over again. When you're a new patient, you go see the doctor and you tell the doctor, Doc, I got sick here. It was 2015, and that's when I got sick. And they hear about it then, but when you go back there again for another visit, you can't tell them again. But they'll tell you, someone else will tell you a story over and over about best trip they ever had. They'll tell you that story over and over again, and you'll be like, whoa, really? And then what happened? Oh, I didn't tell you what happened on that big trip I had. I left this part out. We went out that night and we did this and we did that. And you're like, whoa, that sounds really awesome. But Hey, I got sick back in 2015. Oh, you told me that already. Yeah, but I left out this other thing about how hard it was on me and what was happening in my life. No, I don't want to hear about it. It's it's something that, I've seen all these years and I've known all these years, but this is a landmark situation. This is a special time in our life, believe it or not. It's a hard time. It's a hard time. It could be traumatic. It could be a struggle. It could be a difficult time. It could be traumatizing. It could be all that, but it's still a special time. And it just should be respected, man. It should be respected. The day I got sick should be respected because it's an important day in our life and it means something and it matters because our health and our life matters and our well-being matters and our spiritual self matters and our soul matters, and getting sick is a very important time in our life, and it should be understood and respected, and it should be seen and validated, and we shouldn't be afraid of it or afraid to talk about it or afraid to remember it, because you know what, when you heal and you can look back at that, and then there's some feeling you get when you get better. You guys will get there. Many of you guys have already gotten there. You're light years from where you used to be. You found, incredible information from above, and that information has moved you forward and moved the needle, and you have persevered with that information, and you already got rid of 2 symptoms and 5 symptoms, and some people got rid of 50 symptoms and 70 symptoms. And I know people that got rid of 100 symptoms, 20 conditions with 100 symptoms attached to them, and they got rid of it. And you'll get there too. You'll get there too. But there's something that happens when you get to that point and you think back when you first got sick. There's a feeling you get. It really was a special day when you first got sick because you changed as a person. You become enlightened. Oh my God. The people that say they're enlightened and the people that say they're spiritually enlightened, I understand. Everybody wants to be enlightened. But man, when you get sick, that's enlightenment right there, because it's a struggle. It's a struggle no one can really touch or understand until they've been in your shoes. Because there's an enlightenment that's different when you come from that and you rise out of the ashes and you've been through hell and back. There's a difference with that enlightenment. That's enlightenment. I have people that contact me and reach out, powerful people in the world, and they're like, I just want to get 1 minute to say hi to the guy. I get on the phone. I'm like, what? I only got 1 minute. What is it? Better be important. They'd be like, look, I just have to tell you that the work you do is great. But thank you. And then they say, look, I feel compelled to tell you that I have the spiritual connection and everything, and I'm listening, and I'm not doubting that they don't have a spiritual connection. But then I'll say, you seem to be doing okay. So you're not calling me because you've been through tragic illness or anything. No, not at all. I just want to tell you about this voice. I feel like I hear like a voice in the middle of the night, and I want to tell you about the visions I have, and I want to tell you about the future I see, and all these dreams I have, and all this stuff. And I'll be like, but okay, but that's a different kind of enlightenment or path or spiritual path you're going into, because when you're sick, that's a whole different game. And so when someone talks to me that's been through hell and back and they have 50 symptoms or 10 symptoms or maybe one debilitating symptom that's really difficult on them, and they talk to me and I'm listening to them and I'm like, there's enlightenment there. There's spiritual power there in that person. When you go through that and you're rising up out of that, there's something no one can touch. There's a true spiritual connection, spiritual power, spiritual enlightenment. You become that beacon of light for others to find their way. And when you got sick really matters, and we can't forget that. It's just as important as any wedding day. It's just as important as any boat trip. It's more important, in my opinion, than anything. And it's something that you can't ever undermine. Anyway, I just wanted to talk to you guys for a second and connect. And I hope to do more of that this week. Fill you in on things that I'm doing and what's happening. And just know that your body wants you to heal. It's working for you every day. You're giving it the tools it needs. You give it a chance. Have patience for it. And I love you guys greatly. Take care.